People yearn for work that provides a sense of shared purpose. I'd gladly give way on that point.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. He's very generous with his time. He speaks very passionately about coal mining in Cumbria and in Whitehaven. Of course, he will be aware that there is a chance in Whitehaven to open a metallurgical coking mine, which will produce coke to produce steel and cement in this country. So will he have a word with his own government and persuade them to open this coal mine?
I'm glad the honourable member intervened, perfectly timed in fact, because it is in these communities where the easy soundbites of populists can take hold. So our response, and I'll answer his question in time, our response must be economic revival in coalfield communities that can generate a renewed sense of purpose and pride.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear. What can you even say at this point? It's beyond a joke now. Every time you watch PMQs, every time you watch anything in Parliament, it's the same story. Questions are asked, and answers are as rare as a politician picking up their own tab at the bar. And you know what? Farage is right. They are rattled. They are panicking.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. There appears to be some panic on that side of the House. I'm not surprised.
And it's pretty obvious now. I mean, for months, you've never heard a single insult thrown at Reform's way in the House of Commons. Not live on PMQs anyway. But now suddenly, because Reform are topping polls, Labour and the Tories are both scrambling to get their digs in whenever they can. It's a bit funny that, isn't it? Almost like they can see something happening, like their own downfall. But here's what really frustrates me. No one actually answers a question. PMQs has turned into a glorified tennis match. One side slings accusations, the other side fires back, and round we go. Except instead of Federer versus Nadal, it's more like two blokes swinging handbags outside of Wetherspoons. Meanwhile, the public, like me and like you, is left wondering if we'll ever get a straight answer or if we'll just start reading tea leaves instead. I mean, take Lee Anderson's latest question there. Instead of responding properly, what do? They start flinging insults about populist views and making vague promises about what they're going to do. Oh yeah, I'm going to. The reality is that all they're doing is pushing net zero policies that are strangling British industry, like a dodgy taxman looking for unpaid fines. That's the truth. I'm just fed up with it. PMQs is supposed to be Prime Minister's questions, but really it should be called Prime Minister's deflections, because that's all we get. Tories blaming Labour, Labour blaming the Tories, and all the time this is going on, nothing's actually getting done. It's just a blame game. And while a taxpayer like me and you is footing the bill about why they argue about who's got the bigger office, it's just a ridiculous, nonsensical mess. And as for populist views, let's get one thing straight. This isn't about populists, it's about common sense. They can label it however they want, but most of what Reform is saying is plain common sense. No one expects to agree with everything that a party stands for, but at least they're not pushing the same old tired nonsense that's actually harming the country like the Labour Party and the Tories have been. I mean, meanwhile, Labour's running around pushing their net zero agenda, stripping winter fuel allowances while sending millions in foreign aid. It's just making life harder for British citizens. And the Tories are no better, they're just as bad. They're like two sides of the same useless, taxpayer-funded coin. But what really gets me is how repetitive and exhausting this all is. Every week I watch PMQs. Every week I see the same pattern. Lots of questions, no answers. Just dodging and deflecting. And if I have to hear about this £20 billion black hole one more time, I swear I'm going to be pulling out what little air I've got left. That's all we've heard for the past 7 months. £20 billion this, £20 billion that. We get it, it's boring. The Tories left a mess. But guess what? When the Labour was in charge, they left a mess too. Maybe just stop leaving each other a mess and start fixing stuff. Or is that too radical of an idea? Is that a far-right thug idea? Is that a populist idea? And now, You have to hear all this new news that's coming out. That it's £22 billion black hole they keep going on about. Might not have even existed anyway.
Now, I've read that report, as I'm sure others have, and nowhere in that report, nowhere, does it mention £22 billion. It's not there at all. In fact, the only reference they have to a number is to be found on page 2 and in table 1, and even the Treasury, straining every sinew, could only find numbers that added up to 9.5, and even there, the OBR says, and I quote, "It is not possible to judge how much of that might actually have been realised." So when the Chancellor said there is a £22 billion black hole, the OBR report yesterday now proves that was simply untrue.
But I think we all knew that anyway, didn't we? I mean, we're not stupid. Even if there was some kind of £1 billion black hole, it was nowhere near 20 or £22 billion. They added to it when they paid off the union paymasters and when they gave train drivers ridiculous pay rises and stuff like that. So instead of throwing numbers around like we're in a budget committee for a school bake sale, how about actually doing something to boost the economy? You keep going on about growth this and growth that, yet all we're seeing is decline. At this rate, the only thing that's growing is our energy bills. I mean, what happened to smashing the gangs, Keir Starmer? If you want to include that, that's also going up. So are the crime rates. So is immigration. Oh, and so is our council bills now. Do you remember when you said that they wouldn't go up? Working people. You can't even define what a woman is. You couldn't even define what a working person was. So why is it no surprise now that you turned on that also?
Not going to be raising tax on working people.
We will not raise taxes on working people.
We're not putting up taxes on working people.
Labour government will not raise income tax, will not raise national insurance contributions and will not raise VAT.
We're not going to increase tax on working people, and that means
that Labour will not be putting up taxes on working people.
But no, we don't think that we should be raising taxes on working people.
There'll be no additional taxes on households under a Labour government.
Let me be absolutely clear, we will not raise tax for working people.
We will not raise taxes on working people.
We have said we're not raising taxes on working people.
And we're not going to be increasing taxes on working people.
We will not be increasing taxes on working people.
That is a commitment not to increase taxes on working people.
I don't believe it's fair to raise taxes on working people.
We will not further increase personal taxes
on lower
people.
That burden on working people.
There's nothing in our manifesto which requires additional taxes.
It's complete garbage. We will not be raising taxes on working people.
We're not going to be raising taxes on working people.
I want taxes to be
And we're not going to be increasing taxes on working people.
We've said we will not be raising taxes on working people.
I am announcing an increase in employers' national insurance contributions.
We have no plans to raise taxes on working people. We've said it a million times.
By 1.2 percentage points.
And I'll spell that out. No income tax, no national insurance, no VAT.
Means that this...
You have to laugh, otherwise you'll cry. Remember all that nonsense, folks? And the worst is, all the nonsense they've added still. And the worst part, the real damage hasn't even started yet. Come April or May, when all these changes finally kick in, that's when the businesses will really start feeling it. That's when things will really start to collapse. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the people responsible, they still get a pay rise. And I wonder why reform is surging. People are sick of the same two parties screwing up over and over again. We've had enough of the incompetence. Anyway, that was a bit of a rant, but if you like what you've heard, drop a like, hit subscribe and leave a comment. On to the next one, folks.